We just finished the muscles of what did we just finish? Oh, the forearm. And so now we're moving on to the muscles of the leg, muscles that move the hip, muscles that move the knee. Now, the muscles that move the hip joint, flex or extend it, will be in blue, and the muscles that bend or flex or extend the knee joint are going to be in green. So a couple of things. Let's start up here with the psoas major and the iliacus. On your lab activity, you'll notice on page 64, under part H, muscles of the upper leg, they name a muscle called the iliopsoas, Iliopsoas, iliopsoas. And that's kind of more of a catch-all term for these two muscles here, the psoas major and the iliacus. Together, they can get called the iliopsoas. So if I am pointing to it in your lab quiz next week or in your lab midterm, which is coming up, then I will accept either answer. I'll accept iliopsoas, and if I'm pointing to this part, I'll accept psoas major, and if I'm pointing to that part, I'll accept iliacus. All right. Now, interesting thing about the iliacus and the psoas major, look at where they are. I don't know if you can tell, but they're down inside of the pelvis, kind of. Like, it's very difficult to massage them. And the iliacus and the psoas major, both of them get injured on a regular basis, particularly with athletes that have to suddenly start sprinting. So people who are Olympic sprinters or hurdlers, and then football players, that's their position, that they need to suddenly start sprinting. And if they injure these muscles, and those are muscles that move the hip, it'll feel like they hurt their back. And yet, how do you ice it? It's down inside of your abdomen, How do you massage it? Well, you can, but it's a little bit tricky to even massage it. So they're difficult to rehab. Let's see, what's next? The rectus femoris. I told you you've got two rectus muscles to learn in this lab. The rectus abdominis, straight up and down the abdomen. The rectus femoris, straight up and down the front of the femur. Okay, rectus femoris. Now, the rectus femoris is one of the muscles inside of this muscle group called the quadriceps group. The quadriceps group are actually four muscles. You don't see the fourth one here. On the front of the thigh, that when they contract, they extend the knee. They straighten out the knee. Let's see, what else do you need to know? Let's talk about the sartorius. The sartorius is this pretty muscle here. The sartorius, factoid, is the longest muscle in the body. And you will learn in lecture that the length of a muscle will be about the length of the muscle cells that are inside of it. So even though my cells are microscopically small, you can't see them, some of them are as long as this entire muscle. And imagine that sartorius muscle on, I don't know, Yao Ming or some basketball player like that. That'd be a super long muscle. That'd be super long cells, sartorius. And the sartorius goes across the thigh, kind of like the sash that a beauty pageant contestant wears. Anything else we need to know from that? We aren't talking about them too much, but you notice that this muscle is called the adductor longus and this muscle is called the adductor magnus. On the inside of your thigh is the adductor group. Adductor is spelled just this way, ADDUCTOR, but it's the adductor group. You need to know three muscle groups on the thigh. The front of the thigh, quadriceps group, inner thigh, adductor group, back of the thigh, hamstrings group. We'll get there in a second. All right, tensor fascia lata. Make sure you write that one down because we'll just look at it. Really hard to spell, 3 words. And I don't know why. I just really like that muscle. This muscle is very small. It's just up here, kind of where your hip is. It is superior to the greater trochanter. Your greater trochanter is right under there. And yet your tensor fascia lata, it attaches to this connective tissue band, which is called the iliotibial band or the IT band. And if you know anyone, particularly who's a track athlete, you'll know that IT band issues are relatively common. So little athletic conditioning detail. And then you need to know the gluteus maximus. Isn't that the first name of a muscle that every little kid learns, is the gluteus maximus? So you can say it and you know you're saying but, and you think that's the funniest thing ever. All right, the tensor fascia lata and the gluteus maximus. What else do we need to know? I guess we're on the back of the thigh. We can see the gluteus maximus from here. We can still see the adductors. Remember the middle of the thigh. If I had a little bracket like, right here, little bracket, right? Then that would be the adductor group, right? On the back of the thigh is the hamstrings group. It's the semitendinosus, semimembranosus, and the biceps femoris. Remember I told you that you don't get full credit for just calling the biceps brachii the biceps, and it's his fault, the biceps femoris. But you don't need to know those individual terms. If the term is not here on pages 63 and 64, if the name of the muscle is not there, you don't, or the muscle group, you don't need to know the name of it. All right, that's it. Now, let's look at the lower leg. On the lower leg, there are actually a lot of muscles. Let's not talk about that anymore, but you only have to know 3 of them. Here is one, and I love the name of this one. The tibialis anterior is also known as the anterior tibialis. And why do I love it? Because what is that bone? It's the tibia. And the front of the tibia is where this muscle lives, and the name is tibialis anterior. Oh, I just love that, right? What does the tibialis anterior do? The tibialis anterior dorsiflex the foot. It pulls the toe up towards the knee. It's on the front of the tibia. And here we've got the 2 muscles you need to know on the back of the tibia. And on the back of the tibia, the superficial muscle is the gastrocnemius. Make sure you put that little C in there, the gastrocnemius. The gastrocnemius is the muscle on the calf that makes that pretty heart-shaped, upside-down heart-shaped appearance. And between the gastrocnemius and the back of the tibia is the soleus. So this is kind of analogous to the front of the upper arm. If I had a needle, I would go through the skin, go through the gastrocnemius, go through the soleus before the needle would puncture the tibia. All right, that's it. That's all of our muscles that we need to know. But there's more. Let's turn to page 65. I told you I was going to tell you which muscles you had to know. Oh, wait, hold on. Let me say that really clearly. Every muscle we talked about, every muscle that's on page 63 and 64, you got to know. What I'm talking about now is which muscle actions might you be held responsible for? The muscle actions, right? So frontalis, yes. Orbicularis oculi, frontalis muscle raises the forehead, raises the eyebrows. Orbicularis oculi squints the eye. Orbicularis oris closes the lips. Buccinator compresses the cheek. Masseter and temporalis closes the jaw. Know all of those. Sternocleidomastoid, I'll accept it if you know that it lifts your head up from the ground if you were laying on your back. You can put a pencil line through external intercostals, internal intercostals, and diaphragm, because I won't be asking you those questions. You can put a pencil line through, you can put a pencil line through external oblique and a pencil line through internal oblique. You should know rectus abdominis, it flexes the vertebral column. So if you're laying on your back and you do a crunch, That's flexing the vertebral column. So you should know rectus abdominis's activities. You can put a pencil line through the pectoralis minor action. Let me emphasize again, I'm not saying you don't need to know the name of that muscle. You need to be able to identify the name of the muscle. I'm talking about on pages 65 and 66, which of these actions do you need to know? Okay. You don't need to know the action of the serratus anterior or the trapezius. You do need to know the pectoralis major's action. It adducts at the shoulder. You don't have to know the action of the latissimus dorsi. You do need to know the action of the deltoid. You should know the actions of the biceps brachii, the brachialis, and the triceps brachii. If you don't know the actions of the hand flexor group, what are you even thinking? Okay, so know the hand extensor group. I will not hold you accountable for the action of the iliopsoas or the action of the sartorius. I will hold you accountable for the action of the rectus femoris. You do not need to know the action of the gluteus maximus or the tensor fascia lata. You do need to know the action of the adductor group because, hey, it adducts, right? You are held accountable for the action of the quadriceps group and the action of the hamstrings group and the action of the tibialis anterior and the gastroc and the soleus. All right? There you go. That's what you need to know next week, identifying muscles and some muscle actions. Many more muscle names than muscle actions.